How do you feel? Anxious, angry?
Angry? No, not yet. Not angry yet. I feel nervous. I feel anxious a little bit. Excited because it's like my first big thing. Like I've done a couple of small things since I had Jude. And it sounds really, really silly, but since I've had Jude, I feel like I have more pressure to be good because I don't want her to grow up with a mom who's not good. So it's this really bizarre feeling of going, I really hope I'm doing something that makes her proud when she's older. Which is silly because she's only 6 months old. It depends because when you're like doing a TV or something, there's just one person you're speaking to, but you don't know how many people are watching or listening. Maybe no one. It's nice because you can always imagine that no one is listening.
Okay, good evening everybody, and thank you for having invited me here. I know many of you are familiar with Libya, but I'll try to give you very quickly the overall political context, which is constantly moving. I won't go through the situation on the ground. There's fighting in Benghazi, they're fighting in other parts of Libya. We have more than 400,000 internally displaced. We calculate about 2,400,000 in need of some form of assistance, which is quite shocking for a country like Libya. And of course, you have Daesh planted in the middle with so far carrying out mostly destructive raids and not really attempting to gain territory, but that can change any moment.
To date, to our knowledge, of course, no one has yet been charged with any serious crime. No one has been charged with torture, unlawful killings, forced displacement, long-term arbitrary detention, or any of these other really serious crimes. And that, of course, is a very clear reflection of where this judicial system is at today.
Is it acceptable to have someone in a complete legal vacuum? He's been detained now for 4 years. He's already gone through one trial in absentia in Tripoli. What's the remedy? If he now, which I don't see ever happening, if he ever went to the ICC, what, in 7 years, 8 years' time, he will have already served any putative sentence that a court would issue to him. And that's the question. What do you do in transitional justice? Is it acceptable to keep detainees in prison while you wait for either a political solution or you wait for the justice system to be created?
Thank you for having me. Mostly because I'm actually on maternity leave right now, and this is so exciting to be an adult company. So it's super refreshing to have conversations that are multi-syllabled. So thank you. And if I ramble on, it's purely because I'm excited to be with so many grown-ups. Because I'm a lawyer, I always like definitions. So I think it's really important to define what we mean by justice and what we mean by transitional justice. Transitional is just telling you when it's occurring, but it shouldn't really impact on what you're aiming for in working towards justice. It is not a lower or a weaker form of justice. It's a more difficult one, but it's not a weaker or a less important form of justice, or one that can be negotiated. I think the Libyan government or governments, their solution to everything is just to pass legislation. And I think what we've ended up doing, actually, by passing legislation that is never enforceable or in a form that can be utilized, is you weaken the rule of law. So in attempting to rule by law, you've lost the rule of law in Libya. And I think that's the key point to focus on when you're looking or you're assessing these laws. Because what we end up with are laws that are passed and unenforceable and not used. And then every time a new law passed, it becomes a mockery. And at the moment, people do not take law seriously in Libya. And if you get to a situation where there is no respect for the law, then there is no ability to enforce it with any will of a government. 1. 2, couple that with the idea that actually not only is the rule of law utterly been derailed, you actually have an alternative which is very attractive and actually very effective, which is revolutionary legitimacy. Militias enforcing their form, quote-unquote, justice, and very effectively so, and controlling, clear areas and geographical areas and moving agendas forward. But what we're trying to do is look at what we can do to fill the vacuum as civil society. And for us, the key element of justice from the definitions I gave or the ideas I gave is accountability. But also it's this fighting the culture in Libya. And I know that sounds very fluffy, but there's a real culture of impunity in Libya that we've grown up with. If you think about numbers, 2/3 of Libyans were born under Gaddafi. So we only know that kind of system, really, and that's what we're perpetuating since then. And I think it takes a lot of re-education to do that, and that's where this other area of our work comes in. Finally, and this is a personal thing for us as an organization, there's a lot of practical impediments to the work we do. Obviously, personal safety and security are those, but also funding. It's very difficult to do this kind of work and to do it regularly, and the fact that funders have lost interest in Libya now because it's no longer quite as sexy as other conflicts, or that in fact they consider Libya such a failed state that what good are you going to do working in Libya? We might as well fund someone else, is a real problem. If there's one message to take away from the kind of plea, is that there is a lot that NGOs can do, and it's a shame that that's not being seen.
تشبيهين 3 مرات ما تردش عليا. كنت لكن بعدين احيانا الموضوع يشدها صلاح، وبعدين بعد ما يشدها تشوف وتجيني. الحمد لله.